Hi Zoe, Jeremy here from Riders and Elephants. Thank you so much for your email and your question about why uncomfortable is in the black pile, because as you said, you associate uncomfortable with a negative feeling. Really important question, and one that will be super clear when I explain in a second. But before I give you the answer to, or before I share the answer to why the black card, there's an uncomfortable in the black pile, is I was doing some reading recently, or am reading a book called The Happiness Hypothesis by Jonathan Haidt. And he came up with the rider and elephant metaphor actually, but in his book there's a line in there, and it's quoted from a Hamlet play, I think, which says, "There is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so." And I think that's really important, or a really important caveat or foundation to have in mind as you play this game, that there isn't something that's good or bad, but it is how we think about it that either makes it a bad thing or turns it into a good thing. So just consider that when you're playing the game or when you're using it with clients. Share that quote with them as well and help them understand that it is how we think about these things ultimately that influence whether we think of them as positively or we think of them as a negative. But coming back to your original question, why is uncomfortable in the black cards and in the white cards? This is version 14 of the deck before we launched it last year. So there's 14 different iterations of it that I tested over 2 years with a whole bunch of people around the world. And what I realized quite early on in the process, when uncomfortable was only in the white pile, was that when it came to the point of people pulling out the cards that demonstrated or described how they wanted to feel at work, more and more people were pulling out the word uncomfortable from the perceivably negative pile or the undesirable pile and putting it into the pile of the things that they wanted to feel at work, which was really encouraging for me to see, because I was hearing great stories about how people wanted to feel uncomfortable at work because that helped them to grow and it helped them to develop. But often in those sessions early on, when people were asking, or people asked me if they were allowed to take the uncomfortable card from the negative pile and put it into the pile for the things they wanted to feel. And of course, I'm a rule breaker and I love the fact that people are breaking the rules and doing that. But what I ended up doing was just putting them in both piles, because I wanted to give permission to the people who weren't perhaps naturally rule breakers, and to let them know essentially that they could pick the word uncomfortable and put it into the pile of things that they wanted to feel. And what also ended up happening through that testing process was restless was originally in the unpleasant pile in the white cards only, but once again people were taking that card and putting it into the list of things they wanted to feel at work. And so I ended up creating restless and putting the restless card into the black pile, which are the perceivably pleasant cards as well. And the final one that kept coming up time and time again through that testing process was rebellious. And so originally rebellious was only in the unpleasant pile, the white cards, and more people dragged it across and put it into the thing they wanted to feel at work. And so rebellious is now also in the black pile as well. And it's exciting that people want to pull those cards and want to feel those things at work for various reasons. But once again, rebellious could be seen as a perceivably negative thing for some people or some leaders, but it could also be perceived as a positive thing. And rebellious is one of my top 5 things that I want to feel at work, because I'm doing something that is a little bit rebellious in a sense. I'm flipping the conversation in the workplace about culture by putting the F word at the heart of those conversations, feelings at the heart. And so I'm naturally feeling quite rebellious because I'm doing things that people maybe think aren't supposed to be happening, like talking about how we feel at work, despite the fact that emotion is a powerful driver of human behavior. So that's the reason why uncomfortable is now in both sets of cards. So thanks very much for asking that question, and I hope other people will learn from that and be able to use your question and the answer to your question to run really interesting sessions with the emotional culture deck. So thanks again, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.